Greetings, Otaku Faithful. Thank you for joining me again this week. Once again, it's Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief, and I'm here to bring you all yet again another Top 5 video segment right here on Otaku Assemble! Weekly, and as always, here to bring you the latest in this week's Top 5 video segment. Now, this week's Top 5 topic actually came as the result of a three-way tie, which was the reason why this video was uploaded later than anticipated. So in this past weekend's live Hunter x Hunter episode review, I had my audience go ahead and break the tiebreaker by choosing between 3 top 5 topics, and this was the one that rose to the top. Now, with that being said, if you click on the icon in the top right corner of this video, you will see the runner-ups from last week's poll as well as some other suggestions. Please feel free, vote for which topic you would like to see me discuss in the next top 5 video, and that will be up later this weekend. And if you have yet to do so, please feel free. Check out my Hunter x Hunter live episode review. Annotation will be linked here. So anyway, so the topic for this week's video is top 5 mangaka. Now, I'm not sure if this was intended to be my list of favorite mangaka, because for anyone who has checked out my anime favorites videos, you can pretty much figure out who my top 5 favorite mangaka are. And of course, I never try to do, who I think are the top 5 best mangaka necessarily. But I decided to go ahead. I thought it'd be really interesting to discuss my top 5 most influential mangaka. Now, disclaimer, this is not my list of the top 5 most influential mangaka, because there are so many manga writers and artists that have completely shaped the landscape of both the genre and the medium. So I wouldn't go ahead and, throw out a list of who I think are the top 5 most influential, but instead I wanted to go ahead and discuss the top 5 mangaka that have inspired me both as a writer and an artist. And these are some of the creators that have influenced my own work. And that's going to be the topic of my list. So coming in at number 5 is the creative team of Tsugumi Ohba and Takashi Obata. Now, these two, and it's real funny, I had to go ahead and use a picture from Bakuman, which is one of their most popular series, just because it's really hard to find a photograph of these guys. I mean, now Takashi Obata, yes, I did find one photograph of him online, but Ohba, on the other hand, apparently, his true identity isn't even known to the public. So really hard to find a photo of these guys. But these two creators went ahead, they're starting off my list at number 5. Now, for those of you all who do not know, these are the creators of Death Note, and also the creators of Bakuman. Now, granted, Ohba has written other works, and Obata, he's the artist on Hikari no Go. That's the first manga I've ever seen of his, and he's done so many other works that have inspired so many other mangaka, including the creator of Rurouni Kenshin, one of my third all-time favorite anime and manga series, the creator of Black Cat, and other creators, have all been influenced by his work. Now, these two make it on my list at number 5 because what they managed to do with Death Note, one of my all-time favorite series. I mean, I'm even wearing my Death Note shirt for this video. Death Note is one of my all-time favorite series, but what I learned from reading and watching Death Note, I had never seen a story like that told in anime and manga, and certainly never seen one in the shonen genre specifically. What I learned from those two guys is, number 1, the type of story that you could tell in that medium. What they do in Death Note with, the fact that it is a supernatural mystery, the fact that it has so much political intrigue in it, and when I say political, I'm not talking about necessarily politics, but I'm talking about litigation and police work and investigation work. The amount of intrigue that is presented in that story, and then what they do with the characters and just all of that. I never thought I'd see that type of story in a manga or in an anime before. And the first time I read Death Note was actually, I want to say it was October. It was the summer of 2005, because it premiered The first chapter actually premiered in a chapter of American Shonen Jump. They did a preview for it. And I remember reading that when me and my family evacuated for Hurricane Katrina. I was reading that in the car. And then fast forward to October of 06, when the anime was released. You know, I started watching it December of 06. And so anyway, yeah, I was still in high school at the time. And granted, my anime and manga library consisted mostly of shonen titles at that time. So, and they were all, you know, your staple sort of titles. You know, Dragon Ball Z, Yu Yu Hakusho, Rurouni Kenshin, One Piece, things of that nature. Death Note coming out, you know, out of the blue with that type of story, I mean, it completely blew me away. I think it is one of the best anime and manga I've ever seen. One of the best series, I think. And even what they do with the whole supernatural thing, you know, it was a story that incorporated supernatural elements into what would otherwise be a real world sort of detective story. And the way in which those elements are blended and everything, I mean, what else could I say about this series? For those of you all who want my thorough review of the Death Note series, that video, check out my anime favorites for Death Note. That will be linked, that annotation will be linked right here. But yeah, so that's why they go ahead and they make it on my list at number 5. They taught me that, you know, you can tell a much different story than what's the norm for your genre and for your medium. And not only that, but you can be successful at it. Now, coming in at number 4 is none other than Masashi Kishimoto. And for those of you all who may not be familiar with the name, Masashi Kishimoto is the creator of Naruto. Now, many of you all might be surprised that he's even on this list, especially if you've seen my reasons why I dropped Naruto video. If you have yet to do so, annotation to that video will be right here. Now, yes, I've had multiple problems with the Naruto series. And so you wouldn't think that the creator would make it on my list. However, once again, this is my list of most influential mangaka. And while certainly I had my problems with Naruto, the inspiration and the influence that Kishimoto provided for me as a creator cannot be ignored. I got into Naruto when it premiered on Toonami, the summer of 05, shortly after Hurricane Katrina. And I had seen a few clips of it before when the New Orleans Museum of Art held a Japan Fest in May of 05. So I saw like the first 2 episodes there in Japanese. And of course I was getting American Shonen Jump every month, and there were chapters of Naruto in that. So I had already kind of knew about the series before I actually got into it. And so, but once I really started to get into it and once I started to appreciate it, of course I had to find out, okay, who's the mind behind this, right? And just reading up about Masashi Kishimoto when I was still in high school, how like he started out so young. You know, I believe he was 21 when Naruto was first published. I was like, man, you know, that's like just out of college. And the fact that he garnered so much success for it, I thought that was really cool. But just, you know, following that series as long as I did before I did eventually drop it, and seeing how, you know, how the storytelling had evolved and how even his artwork had improved, that did play a role on me, because it was showing that, you know, just because he had reached that level of success at such a young age, it didn't go to his head. You know what I mean? He was still progressing. He was still making his work better. And even if I didn't agree with some of his creative choices, I could still respect the work he did. And yeah, did the story sort of get a little contrived? That's true. Did he stop exploring some of these really good ideas he had at the beginning of the series? True. But once again, I still respect it. And also I like the fact that he put an end to it. Like when he said the series was over, it was over. He didn't drag it out just for the sake of money. You know, there is a level of artistic integrity with that I do respect. But with Kishimoto, in terms of some of his influences on me, he was one of the manga artists whose art style I did study while I was in high school. And this was at the time when I was still sort of developing my own style. So of course I was, you know, looking at the mangaka that had inspired my writing at the time and that had created my favorite series. So there's that. And then also what Kishimoto did with Naruto. And the one thing I've always dug about Naruto is how it incorporated all of these ideas and themes from Japanese mythology, and it wasn't a direct translation. No, he changed it up. He made it his own. And so that way in which he incorporates that mythology, that is a practice I actually adopted into my own writing, because I love working with established mythologies and changing them up to create something new, to make them your own. That's something that I've always done, I continue to do to this day, and Kishimoto was instrumental in that for me. So, coming in at number 3 is none other than Yoshihiro Takashi. Now, I'm pretty sure you all saw this coming, just because the way I've been talking Takashi up recently with it, you know, in my Hunter x Hunter reviews and whatnot. But Yoshihiro Takashi, he is the creator of my second all-time favorite anime and manga series, and that is none other than Yu Yu Hakusho. And for those of you all who want to see my full review of Yu Yu Hakusho, please feel free to check out my anime favorites for Yu Yu Hakusho. Annotation will be right here. It was the first major supernatural anime and manga that I had gotten into. So in terms of being a creator, Takashi was a major influence on me. But specifically, from a writing standpoint, like what he did with Yu Yu Hakusho, the way he developed his characters, the supernatural elements that he includes in that series. Because you all remember I mentioned, I like how Death Note incorporated supernatural elements. Togashi and Yu Yu Hakusho, it's all supernatural. It's all within the realm of the supernatural and of the occult. And yes, it is centered on the supernatural elements of Japanese culture and Japanese mythology. But first time I saw Yu Yu Hakusho, it was the summer after 7th grade. So I was just about to turn 13. So yeah, and that was the summer before I had decided, like, yes, I want to be a comic book creator. That's what I want to do for a living. So that was a pivotal moment, and Togashi, yeah, he did play a role in that. Just having that major influence for me, that story that I love so much, and everything that he does with that story, what he does with his characters especially. And then, if anything, I would probably say Togashi was the first mangaka. When you want to talk about escalation, when you want to talk about raising the stakes in a story, man, Yu Yu Hakusho, Chapter Black, man, I was completely blown away by the work he did in that series up to that point. And yeah, some people have, criticized Saga of the Three Kings, that he rushed the ending and this, that, and the other. I love Saga of the Three Kings. It's one of my favorite sagas in Yu Yu Hakusho, believe it or not. It actually is my second favorite, right behind Chapter Black. So, but yeah, and then the other thing about Togashi too, because he's also come under criticism recently for all of the hiatuses he took while doing Hunter x Hunter and whatnot. And there are, multiple reasons for that. The biggest reason being, because he was ill and whatnot, dealing with illness and whatnot. But also, that stance that Togashi took, that, he wasn't going to be held down to the job, that he wasn't going to let it eat him up. Because being a mangaka, and I've mentioned this before in previous videos, especially my So You Want to Be a Mangaka video, which if you haven't seen that, annotation to that video is right here. That's a very grueling job. It's a very demanding job. It takes a lot to do that job and to do it successfully and to do it effectively. And Togashi, being who he is, such a major figure in that industry, him just saying, hey man, I'm ill, I'm taking a break, yo. It's like, I understand, I got deadlines, release dates, got the checks coming and all that type of jazz. I understand it's a popular series and you want me to crank this out, but look, I need to fall back. I need to look after myself first and tend to my personal self. Otherwise, any work I give you is not going to be up to quality and it's not going to be on par with what I can do. So once again, it brings up that whole artistic integrity thing, and I respect the hell out of him for doing that. Now, number 2 on my list should come as a surprise to nobody. Coming in at number 2 is my man Akira Toriyama. Yes, and this name goes without any introduction whatsoever. Akira Toriyama is the creator of the Dragon Ball series. Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, which is running now. Now, I won't spend too much time talking about, you know, what he did with DBZ and whatnot. For my full thoughts on Dragon Ball Z, please check out my anime favorites for Dragon Ball Z. Link to that video will be annotated here. But Akira Toriyama, man, look, I'm gonna be real with you guys. This dude, I mean, Dragon Ball Z was the first major anime that I got into. That was the series that got me into anime. I was in 4th grade when I got into DBZ. I had seen Dragon Ball even before that, like bits and pieces. I mean, dude, what could I say about this dude, about how much he inspired me, my writing, my work? I mean, guys, I would not even be in this field if it wasn't for Toriyama. He's been one of my role models, one of my idols for the longest time in terms of being a comic book creator. This, I understand, Totems is a much different series from Dragon Ball Z. It's not even a manga, it's an American comic. But guys, this would not even exist if it wasn't for Akira Toriyama. Just me, you know, being a young kid, you know, drawing Dragon Ball Z all the time, you know, watching it all the time. I mean, it's a series I know backwards, forwards, upside down, flip backwards and whatnot. But like that was the series that not only got me into anime and manga, not only got me interested into Japanese culture, that was the series that made me want to be a comic book creator. That's the series that made me want to be an artist, that made me want to be a writer. I wouldn't even be in this game if it wasn't for that major influence in my life. You can tell on the cover of this manga I did in high school, I mean, how much of my artwork has been influenced by Toriyama. I mean, so much. I mean, you know, and I got teased back in high school because they were like, "Oh, dude, like it's Dragon Ball Z." You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so much of my own work has been influenced by him. And like I said, DBZ, it's not the best story. It's not the best written manga by any stretch of the imagination. It's not even the best drawn. But once again, what he does with that story and the cultural impact of that series, you know, I think he is one of the best. Especially in the shonen genre. I mean, you want to talk about cultural impact, DBZ completely reshaped the shonen genre. Every shonen title that came out after it, you know, there's an old saying about, you know, the mark of greatness, that true greatness is when everything before you is rendered obsolete and everything after you bears your mark. That's Toriyama. And finally, coming in at #1, all-time most influential mangaka, and that is none other than Miyazaki-sama, Hayao Miyazaki. Now, what's funny is, I think, especially with American audiences, most people associate Hayao Miyazaki. They know him from his films. But Miyazaki has been, and still is, because I believe he is still making manga. He has been a long-established mangaka, manga writer, manga artist. My introduction into him and his work was much more recent. You know, I didn't even see my first. Well, I saw Kiki's Delivery Service when I was a kid, but I didn't get into Miyazaki until I was already a senior in high school. So you're talking about 2006, 2007. And I remember, I think it was back in 2004, maybe even 2005, my sophomore year in high school, I was reading, and I've shared this story at some point on camera before, but I'll share it briefly with you guys. I was reading a Time magazine that had Pokemon on the cover. And in the article, they were talking about like anime's impact in America. And they listed three movies. They said it was, you know, 3 of the most inspirational, impactful anime films that ever made it to America. Akira, Ninja Scroll, and Princess Mononoke. And so, of course, I made it my mission to see those 3 films because I hadn't seen them at that time. And so, you know, I saw Princess Mononoke, and I remember even at the time, because that's when Toonami did the month of Miyazaki in March of 2007. And it was the first film they showed. And I remember, you know, I was waiting up all day, you know, I gotta see this. And then finally when I saw the movie, I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, you know what? I thought I knew anime, and I don't know a damn thing. I don't know a damn thing. That movie blew me away so much. And Miyazaki as an artist and as a writer, I mean, what he does with his stories narratively, for me as an influence, it really did raise the bar on what I consider to be good writing, you know. Now granted, I've written so many stories that differ from what Miyazaki would do, you know, differ from his wheelhouse, differ from his type of writing, but I have always sort of put that bar up here. It's like Miyazaki, bam, that's up there, you know. Even artwork wise, bam, that bar's up there, you know. He's garnered the moniker. I've heard the moniker thrown around with him many times, you know, the Walt Disney of Japanese animation. But to me, he is so, I mean, oh my God, he is so much more than that. And I mean, The Art of Princess Mononoke, this was actually a book I got for Christmas, this past Christmas. And it's a book that's filled with a bunch of artwork from the film, but what I really didn't expect in this book was all of Miyazaki's original storyboards are in this, and his production notes are in this, and everything. And you know, I still haven't read this all the way through, but just, you know, I've read interviews with him in the past, and the way he talks about storytelling, you know, the way he talks about the artwork in his films, how it's prepped, you know, everything from the storyboard all the way to like the painted backgrounds to the CGI that gets incorporated sometimes. Matter of fact, Princess Mononoke, I think, was the first Japanese animated film to incorporate CG within their traditional animation, in the same way that The Lion King was the first I believe the first American animated film to do that. And it's funny because they were in production at the same time. It's hilarious. But there are three people I would probably say, in terms of being a writer, that have inspired me the most and have really made me confident in my ability to pursue being a comic book creator and being a writer. And like I mentioned, like Toriyama was the start. He was the one that made me want to do it. But the three that really made me like, okay, yeah, I can definitely do it. And they're the three that I always, you know, sort of measure myself up to their benchmark. That's Alan Moore, Ursula K. Le Guin, and this man right here. So, I mean, and I did bring this as a production, you know, as a prop for the video. But my freshman year in college, we were given an assignment. It was a lesson on value, on tones, and we were given an assignment to do a portrait of a major influential person in our life. And yes, I did a portrait of Hayao Miyazaki. Yeah. That's how big and how impactful of influence he's been on me. So that's pretty much going to conclude my list of top 5 most influential mangaka. I want to thank you all for joining me again this week. In the comments below, please feel free to leave your thoughts on any of the mangaka that I mentioned in this video and their work. Let me know what some of your influential mangaka are, some of the writers and artists whose work you love. Don't forget to vote. Click on the icon right here. Don't forget to vote for the next top 5 topic and leave suggestions for future top 5 topics. Maybe your suggestion will make it on the next poll. If you like this video, please feel free to thumb it up, share it with other fans, anybody, any anime and manga fan you think would get a kick out of this video, anyone who's a fan of the works that I discussed in this video, please feel free, share it, share this video with them. And if you have yet to do so, subscribe to the OAW YouTube channel. Annotation will be above head. And with that being said, this has been Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief. I'm signing off, and until next time, peace.